Hi everyone, welcome back to another Paper Pioneer Live. I'm here on release day with Jay, and we're looking at some new cards, Jay.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I really want to see what cards from the new set can make an impact on Pioneer here.
Yes, absolutely. We have two decks. We have the Amalia combo, the current meta Tyrant, facing up against a mono blue tempo list. Both running a couple of new cards, teched out just to really get them in on show. As we see the standard opening of Delver on turn 1 and Lunak on turn 2. What do you think we're going to see here today, Jay?
Yeah, so we're going to see Mono Blue try to outrace the life gain that the Amalia combo deck can put out, whilst also trying to hold up counter spells to prevent them from comboing off.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Amalia is a very well put together deck with a very tight list, and I believe this list to bring in some of the new cards is actually running Night Errand of Eoses instead of the Cocos. When you bring in more non-creature spells into this type of deck, you really have to think, is Coco worth the hits? So a little bit of a transition there. As we're looking to bring in Prosperous Innkeeper, the sort of should have lost 2 for the Temple Garden, but have then regained 1. So we're back to 20. And Malcolm gets flashed in on the end step. Relatively new card. Is he playing some similar lists to this?
Yeah, Malcolm's been doing really well in Standard. We did see that Delver didn't flip. One of the things about Pioneer is there isn't really ways to stack the top of your library, so Delver doesn't look that good here.
Yeah, and do you know what? Even literally from this situation, there is enough mana for the Amalia combo to just combo off. However, in this particular deck situation, just going wide and having lots of life gain triggers is probably also enough. As we see another Prosperous Innkeeper, which will mean there's plenty of mana available, there's plenty of life gain happening, and a very good start on the Amalia side.
Yeah, so if I was John right now, I would almost be picking up my cards. They've got 3 creatures that gain life, and every time they play a creature from now on, they're going to gain 3 life. That's almost an entire turn of attacking. There's almost no chance that John can beat this kind of life game. Harry would have to, consecutively miss draw steps, just draw land after land after land. And here we see Knight Errant of Eos.
Yeah, and I think the plan here, the clear sort of hold on what to cast was, I might just making mistakes with the life there. They want to get something in play. They want to get the life gain triggers off, and they want to just be able to get to that combo. If they can't get to that combo, have some big bodies to maybe fire back, especially with the Delver yet to flip. They've gone and got the Wild Growth Walker and the Goose. With a treasure up, obviously they got the Goose, but if they got any other 1-drop, I wouldn't be surprised if they play it. Which means then they've got a rather formidable board, let alone the threat of combo in a turn.
Yeah, that Delver can no longer attack with that Knight unless it flips, and they're just getting a huge amount of life. Here we see 3 more life gain from the Goose coming down. The Goose gets the food. That food can be more life gain as well. It's going to be very difficult for what is the traditionally aggro deck. And here we see a Fading Hope and a Fairy Mastermind come into play.
Yeah, you get rid of the Goose because it is a flyer. It was kind of acting as a blocker, so at least the path through the skies is still available for the blue player. However, there's a lot of damage on the ground on the other side also. They're on 25 life now, so it's no longer so much of a free run.
Yeah, I do see that the Delver didn't flip again. Delver, when it doesn't flip, it is just so bad. And here we see 4 damage coming in. Harry's not even down to below 20 life yet. The life gain is just completely outmatching the damage. Oh, and here we see a new card from Murders at Karlov Manor. Deduce.
It's a Deduce. I think it was it was actually cast. So it's draw a card, make a clue, essentially, with a Ledger Shredder trigger going off. I just wonder about Delver Secrets if this creature heavy build is a thing, right? You've got good creatures there. Ledger Shredder, Fairy Mastermind, and Malcolm, all definitely good playable creatures. So that means you're not playing spells that you'd want to be playing to flip your Delver, but we'll see how it plays out. We got an untap on the Amalia side, whilst Mono Blue is tapped out. I see him picking up and essentially probably hearing, yeah, I've got it.
Yeah,
so
there we go.
There's the combo about to kick off. This is the combo. Amalia into Wild Growth Walker. Essentially, one triggers the other, whole board gets blown up, and Amalia then will go up to somewhere in the region of a 22, 22, 23, 23, something like that. So that then you basically are threatening lethal, or your life has gone up to something like 89, or I've seen just crazy numbers like 107 or something.
Yeah,
people can get up to.
I would say, for some matchups, getting up to 107 life and they kill the Amalia next turn, it is possible to come back, but I really don't think this mono blue deck can put enough damage out for that to matter, which is a real shame there.
Yeah, and especially when like the sort of outcome usually of the combo going off is the Amalia player will go to return to the ranks and then be able to essentially reflood the board the next turn. So it's not like it's clear sailing after that, or even they'll potentially pick up Ether Flux Reservoir, which will then ping them to death. So it's a really, really tight combo deck. It's top of the meta for a reason at the moment. I do think Karlov Manor is going to slow the deck down with some of the extra new cards that we've seen. But at the moment, it's definitely right up there as the deck to play in like your upcoming like winner box or RCQ tournament that you might have. As Mono Blue going first, wastes no time and just runs Delver out on one. Which is a good play, and a new card, Case of the Uneaten Feast. So this is the Soul Warden effect enchantment that has a rather juicy effect when you solve it, being able to bring all those creatures back from the graveyard.
Yeah, and here we see Delver does flip this time, and maybe if they have enough damage fast enough, they'll be able to get ahead. Delver is 3 damage a turn, unless there is, quite significant amounts of life gain incoming, like game 1. We could see Amalia not doing so well.
We see that's a natural Amalia on turn 2 here, which gets triggered by the case, which is interesting. That's just a blur on top right now, thanks to that awkward camera like we always talk about there in the bottom left of the screen. But we'll see shortly what that card actually is when it gets to hand. And Malcolm comes in on end step and hitting for 5. I suppose this is the go first difference, right? If you can have Delver turn 1, flip on turn 2, and not have to actually play anything for tempo. You keep up the counter spell magic, you can flash something in. There's a lot of damage here, and really, the Amalia player now needs like 3 creatures ideally on this turn, or at least 2 creatures to like get that life gain going. And that's a good start. Lunar.
It is a really good start. So they gain life off the case. This triggers the Explore from Amalia. Probably not the best thing you want to see. You probably don't want to be seeing loads of lands on the top.
And that comes as a Voice of Resurgence in the Secret Lair art. So actually a really great card against Mono Blue here, which has prompted the Amalia to be bounced to hand before the Voice of Resurgence resolves. Because essentially there's extra creatures coming into play. So there's an extra 2 life if the Mono Blue player actually counters anything. But that being said, they've just flipped their Delver, and I don't think they're even going to need to worry.
Yeah, it looks like they also found a counterspell on the top of their library. I could be wrong, but it looked like Reasonable Doubt from the new set. So it's likely that they'll be able to counter anything that Harry plays this next turn. And they've got lethal on the board, so it's likely that they've run away with this game.
Yeah, and you've always got to remember the ability that Malcolm has to cycle through the deck and just put yourself in a good board state position. Very best case scenario here, if Harry can play like a 1-drop and a 2-drop, or that Blue and Marsh doesn't help at all. But any card that gets counterspelled, which Amalia probably is going to get counterspelled. You will see the elemental token come in, which will gain 2 life, but that's just not enough.
Yeah, I mean, it almost doesn't make a difference right now if you let the Amalia come down, or you counter it and they get the token. I would say maybe if they have any more damage in their hand, any more flash flyers like Malcolm. Oh, sorry, they can't play a second Malcolm. Like a Fairy Mastermind, then potentially that is something that they could play. Oh, I think we've seen our answer here. I think they're going to play Reasonable Doubt, and they're getting a suspect little reminder token thing to put on one of their suspected creatures.
So suspect, the new mechanic in the set, where once you suspect a creature, it has menace but can't block. Is kind of like a add-on to a lot of the blue feature cards if it hasn't already got investigate. But these little elemental tokens, that they can be quite tricky and build up quite quickly from Voice of Resurgence. Ideally, for Amalia player Harry, he really does need to have a one drop here to get like the life gain going, or at least force another counter spell. Otherwise, I believe they're actually dead.
Well, there's only 8 damage in the air here, so currently they'll live another turn. They should be able to attack with that elemental token. Oh no, sorry, it is a quarter. Oh, they're not going to combat.
Okay, this actually makes sense. Although taking 1, they looking to resolve Chord. If they don't resolve Chord, they'll get another elemental. By resolving Chord, they get a C-Note Scout, which does gain 2 life, which puts them out of damage range by taking them to 10. So they're 2 off right now, which is at least alive. So at least we're alive.
Yeah, so it looks like it looks like they're trying to set up the top of their deck for next turn. Try and get a combo piece or something else. Oh, and there's an Amalia on the top of the deck.
They have it. So let's see what Mono Blue can do.
So I believe that they play Shore Up. So if they happen to, oh my god, I'm a genius. So yes, if they happen to have 2 Shore Ups, they've won the game. And wow, I'm surprised that they kept Shore Up in after sideboard, just because the Amalia combo deck does not have any removal, or maybe a couple pieces, but not much.
Yeah, generally only find potentially Fatal Push post sideboard. Skyclave Apparition tends to be a 1 or 2 of. Sometimes not until post sideboard either. But yeah, you're right. No real removal. The flyers come in the form of the Gilded Gooses, so it's probably like the only thing Mono Blue really has to be worried about as far as what's in the air. But they're going to head to Game 3, and just always as a reminder, these games are always played at Firestone Games, where we play our Pioneer FNM every Friday. Any support you can give to the channel, we have links in the description to get your Karlov Mono cards or even Pioneer decks. All greatly appreciated, and go straight back into the channel. That out the way, though, we head to Game 3. So, and starting off with another case of the unnamed or uneaten feast, with what looks like a water damage plains, but is that crazy galaxy foil treatment?
Yep, we did see that John Mulligan down to 6, and they're on the draw, which is not very good, especially seeing this sort of start where they've got a life gain with the case, they've got life gain with the Lunarch Veteran, and then probably a Shaper's Sanctuary. So Harry tapped their lands very weirdly there, but I believe they meant to tap them in the other order.
Yeah, it seemed to be like a gesture of, yeah, did that wrong. But Shaper's Sanctuary, like, does like the Amalia player really need the card draw here? Yeah, they are good. They are going to get targeted, but
I don't think there's enough removal in John's deck for this card. I would much rather just the Lunarch Veteran there, or anything else that's kind of similar to that over this Shaper's Sanctuary. I don't think it's that great. I think there's only Fading Hope and maybe March of Swirling Mist that can target creatures and cause Shaper's Sanctuary to go off.
Oh, they said go here, and that is an absolute nightmare for Amalia to be leaving 3 mana up and not spending it. It's a really awful run out. Obviously, the Shaper's Sanctuary in general, not a good card, but to get a Blooming Marsh as the only land you can play on 4, a Sleep Cursed Fairy, that's going to be a lot of damage in a couple of turns' time. They really... but you know, they could still combo here, right? This is the big thing about the Amalia deck, is they could just combo and it could just be big. But again, the Ether Flux Reservoir, a useful card, but not necessarily one you want to be jamming out on 4 mana, and it also gets countered, which gonna put them very, very far behind on this damage race.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Reasonable Doubt here. I still think Spell Stutter, given that you play Fairy Mastermind and Sleep Curse Fairy, is better. You know, it's usually a mana leak, maybe even better than that. And I don't think the menace from the Suspect matters that much, especially since all your creatures are flying anyway.
Sure, and to give our players credit, and both of these who came down quite early on release day, they basically jammed into their decks all the new cards that they had. So there probably is some suspect choices in that case, but the Sky Cave Apparition is not one of them. It's a usually played card, and here comes Show Up. So I suppose John's actually a genius. He saw Sky Cave come in. Show Up was well timed. However, the board for the Amalia player is getting bigger, where we see a Deduce and just the board going wider, and no development from the Amalia player.
Yeah, and we see Mono Blue get through so many cards, and they probably have a counter or some interaction in their hand. I think it's going to be very difficult for Harry to be able to come back from this. You know, they had a good start, but they really needed to follow up with, you know, another Lunarch veteran, another way to get life.
Yeah, it was possibly that it was a keep, a snap 7 keep. I probably have to go back and say you should probably go to 6 in a deciding game if you haven't got like the engine or the combo pieces in your opening hand. We now do get a Wild Growth Walker, which is probably getting countered. No, it's being allowed to resolve.
The only counters are the Reasonable Doubts, and they do have enough to be able to pay for Reasonable Doubt, so it's not worth casting Reasonable Doubt here. You know, in this situation, Spellstarter or even a Make Disappear sacrificing, you know, one of the less important creatures would be able to have countered that Wild Growth Walker.
Sure, and they've gone in with some attacks, leaving 5 mana up. There is only 1 green, three. There is 3 green actually. 3 green. Just thinking about, is this a call in hand, and what are they getting? Because they're pretty much dead on board if they don't get something.
Yep, and here we see Malcolm. You don't really see it get there that often, but Malcolm, when you get to 4 counters, when you discard that card, you just get to cast it for free. So here we see a Sleep Curse Fairy come in for free. Probably, you know, not the most amazing thing to cast for 3, a 1 mana spell, but it's still nice, and it does mean that you don't go down on cards with Malcolm's ability.
So 1 card has been put to the side as if it's about to get cast, and then, you know, the others are being thought about. So looking to Takanuma. So in Takanuma, you may put a card back into your hand. There's an Amalia.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused there why they chose to tap the 2 mana confluences and leave the planes open. I guess if they were planning on using all of their lands anyway, it doesn't matter.
So this is a return to the ranks, but the return to the ranks has got no mana to counter the counter spell. Oh, that's a big throw there from Harry. So you can pay 2 to get around this counter spell, and there was 1 available. However, they chose not to use all their creatures for the Convoke and end up having to scoop up and GG.
It was a cool sort of play from Harry, but I don't think they were actually able to do that because Takanuma is not an up to 1. I do believe you do have to return either a creature or Planeswalker to your hand.
We'll have to take a look at that in post. Either way, the result goes the way of the blue player. Maybe that's true. Maybe actually what Takanuma, if you Takanuma 2 creatures, there would have been the scope to do that. But interesting matchup. What do you think of the new cards? Starting with the mono blue, we had the Deuce, and we had Reasonable Doubt.
I really like Deduce, maybe not on this specific deck, but I think it's really good. It harkens back to Think Twice, which was quite widely played, and having a clue is actually quite useful for things like Revolt for Fatal Push. So I suspect we're going to see a lot of Dimir control players running the full 4 of Deduce in Pioneer.
100%. I think that's definitely one of those little techie cards that will be in a lot of archetypes that fit that draw card on end step feel. For me, the Case of the Unnamed Feast was interesting. It's definitely going to mean the Amalia combo's got to be built differently, because there's no way you can really put any number of those cases in and be able to still run Coco. The Knight is a potential change around there, because you can go grab some cards, which might even see a little bit of an interesting one, is taking into account the fact that there is a subtype on Amalia, which is on some of the other cards, of Scout. Maybe we could be seeing some Cavernous Souls hit this deck, and to make sure we can resolve our Amalia, we might see Cavernous Souls name in Scout, and we'll be able to get it off. Who knows? Early in the meta, it was great to see some new cards. We'll be back with some more on the channel throughout the week. Any last words, Jay?
No, that's all from me today, Dave.
Nice one. Well, we'll see you all soon.